guys, this is Aviation 24 here, coming at you with another airport update for you guys today. And as you can tell, this is an Eastern Liberty airport update. This is the 95th airport update, so we're 5 airport updates away from being at 100. Quickly before we start this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the like and comment down what you'd like to see on the channel as well. And also thank you all for everybody that's been with the Eastern Liberty Airport update when it was used to be called JFK Airport. But yeah, the airport has come definitely a long way. As you can tell right here, we have some brand new GSC, which if I just shift the camera over a little bit, we have the brand new Clipper models construction GSC. As you see, is the crane, and then we have some small little other cranes, which I'll show you later on in this airport update. But yeah, also a quick shout out from our sponsor, Texan Airplane Store, where if you use code AVI24, that's code AVI24, you get 15% off any orders, whether it be pre-orders or in-stock items, and even clearance items. So whatever you want to buy from there, just use our code and it always will work. But as with that being said, let's get started. All right guys, so starting us off for this airport update at the brand new Terminal A concourse here. As you can see, I've added some lights on the exterior, but there's also lights on the interior as well, which I'll show you guys later on. But besides from that, here we have the Delta Airbus A350-900. This aircraft has arrived in from Sydney, Australia, and is right now getting ready for its next flight out to Johannesburg in South Africa. And then right next to that aircraft, here we have the Delta Boeing 767-400ER in the breast cancer livery. Which is also, that reminds me that it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so what a coincidence. I wasn't even planning on that, but this aircraft has arrived in earlier from Prague, Brussels, and is going to be making a later departure out to Athens, Greece. And right next to that 764, here we have another Delta 764 in a more regular livery. This aircraft has arrived in from Bucharest in Romania, and will be making a later departure out to Belgrade in Serbia. And right next to that 764, moving on to the more domestic aircraft here, we have the Delta 767-800 with the regular winglets. This aircraft is getting ready for its departure out to Portland in Oregon. And right next to him is the Delta 767-900ER with the split scimitars. This aircraft, as you can tell, is getting its catering done, where it's going to be making its flight out to Austin, Texas, and it came in earlier from Salt Lake City. And right next to him, here we have the Delta Airbus A319. This aircraft has arrived in from Key West, Florida, and will be making a later departure tonight out to New Orleans. And right next to that A319, well, not really directly next to him, but here we have another Delta 767-800, but this time it has the split scimitars. This aircraft has arrived in from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and will be making a later departure out to Seattle. And moving up, here we have the WestJet Boeing 737-800 in the swoop colors. This aircraft has arrived in from Calgary and will be making a later departure out to Toronto. Right next to that aircraft, here we have another Delta 737-800, but this time it's in the SkyTeam livery. This aircraft has arrived in from West Palm Beach and will be making a later departure out to Reno, Nevada. And then last but not least, for the domestic aircraft here at Terminal A for Delta, here we have the Delta Airbus A320. This aircraft has arrived in from Minneapolis, St. Paul, and will be making a later departure out to Detroit, Michigan. And moving on to the newly constructed American domestic gates here at Terminal A. Here we have the American Airbus A321 in the Medal of Honor livery. This is in support of the veterans that have served this country. This aircraft has arrived in from Dallas-Fort Worth and will be making a later departure out to Sacramento, California. And then right next to that aircraft, here we have another American Airbus A321. This is a Gemini jet mold, as you can tell. This aircraft has arrived in from Los Angeles and will be making a later departure out to San Francisco. I also heard recently in the news that the American is going to be starting the A321 XL large service out of the JFK airport, so they're going to be in the transcontinental configuration. So that means this A321 that like in like the real life counterparts will be switched out for like the regular American cabin, and then it's just gonna be all A320 with Neos. So that's gonna be really cool to see in the future, especially next year. That's gonna be coming by really quick. But yeah, let's get back to the airport update, guys. And moving over to the old Terminal B, what's left of it, here we have a Delta Airbus A330-300. This aircraft has arrived in from London Heathrow and is going to be getting ready for its flight out to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Alright, next to that Delta aircraft, here we have a Nepal Airlines Airbus A330-200. This aircraft has arrived in from Kathmandu via London Heathrow, and it's going to be resting here overnight for its departure tomorrow morning back out to Kathmandu via London Heathrow. Alright guys, so moving down to what's left of American's domestic operations here at Terminal B. Starting us off, here we have the American Boeing 737 MAX 8. This aircraft is currently waiting for a few aircraft to unoccupy the taxiway, as we're working on a single runway operation right now at the airport due to runway 4/22 under construction right now. So yeah, for the time being, the airport is only really running off of one runway, which I forgot to mention earlier. But yeah, this aircraft is going to be heading out to Florida, and it came in earlier from Georgetown. And right next to him, here we have the American Boeing 737-800 in the regular livery. This aircraft has arrived in from Chicago O'Hare and will be making a later departure out to Antigua. Alright guys, so we're just gonna finish these American domestic operations in these last two shots here at Terminal B. So in the foreground, right about here, this American 737-800 is also awaiting pushback like the 737 MAX 8 for its departure out to Phoenix, Arizona, and it came in earlier from Seattle, Washington. And then the one in the background, right about right about here, where all the construction equipment is another 737-800, but this time with the American Airlines logo winglets. This aircraft has arrived in from Nassau in the Bahamas, and will be making a later departure out to Dallas-Fort Worth. And moving on over to the American Airlines wide-body operations here at the brand new Terminal A. Starting us off, here we have a Japan Airlines Airbus A350-1000. This is a new model to you guys. I don't think it's been featured in an airport update yet. But this aircraft has arrived in about 30 minutes, well, about an hour ago, I should say, from Tokyo Haneda. As you can see, you have the honey truck at the back of the aircraft, and then they're just getting the aircraft cleaned up and ready for its next flight back out to Tokyo Haneda. And right next to that A350-1000, here we have an American Airlines 787-8. This aircraft is awaiting pushback before it makes its flight out to Rome, Italy. And right next to that A350-1000, here we have an American Airlines 787-8. This aircraft is awaiting pushback before it makes its flight out to Rome, Italy. And then last but not least for American Airlines, here we have the 777-300ER. This aircraft has arrived in from London Heathrow and will be making a later departure out to Buenos Aires in Argentina. Alright, moving on now to Terminal C. We're going to start off with the temporary hard stands here that won't be here any longer soon, as I'll get to the details as to why towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Here we have the Allegiant Boeing 737 MAX 8-200. This aircraft has arrived from Orlando Sanford Airport and will be making a later departure out to Allentown in Pennsylvania. And right next to him, here we have the Frontier Airbus A320neo in the Chambron Hotel. This aircraft has arrived in from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and will be making a later departure out to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Moving on down to Delta Connections operations, and also just quick disclaimer, I did hear about the recent ground collision at LaGuardia with the Delta Connections aircraft. That looked pretty crazy. But yeah, besides from that, here we have the Delta Connections CRJ-900 operated on the behalf of Endeavor Air. This aircraft has arrived in from Lexington, Kentucky, and will be making a later departure out to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And right next to him, here we have another Delta Connections CRJ-900. This aircraft has arrived in from Toronto, Peterson, and will be making a later departure out to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then last but not least for the Delta Connection aircraft over here, we have the CRJ-900 in the regular livery. This aircraft has arrived in from Wilmington, Illinois, and will be making a later departure out to Cleveland, Ohio. And moving down further over to the bigger aircraft here at Terminal C, here we have an Alaska Airlines MAX 9 in Orca livery. This aircraft has arrived in from Sacramento Airport in California, and will be heading out to Seattle, Washington. And then right next to that aircraft, here we have the Alaska Boeing 737-800 in the Toontown livery, which was mentioned in the last airport update. This aircraft at this time is going to be heading out to Los Angeles, and it came in earlier from San Francisco. Now moving on to the Southwest gates, Southwest has increased their operations and their presence here at Eastern Liberty by a decent amount. But yeah, so we're gonna start getting into this now, starting off with this MAX 8 in front of you. This aircraft is gonna be heading out to Dallas Love Field, and it came in earlier from Phoenix, Arizona. And then right next to him is the Boeing 737-700 with the split scimitars. This aircraft has just arrived in from Nashville, and it's going to be making a later departure out to Tampa, Florida. And right next to that 700, here we have a 737-800 by Southwest. This aircraft has arrived in from Montego Bay, Jamaica, and will be making a later departure out to Cancun, Mexico. And right next to him is another 737-800. This aircraft has arrived in from Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, and this aircraft will be making a later departure out to Omaha, Nebraska. And last but not least for Southwest, here we have the Freedom 1 737-800. This aircraft has arrived in from Orange County Airport in California, and will be making a later departure out to Las Vegas in Nevada. Now moving back to the Delta operations, but now at Terminal C, here we have a Delta Airbus A321neo. This aircraft has arrived in from Mexico City, Mexico, and will be making a later departure out to Salt Lake City, Utah. And then moving down further, here we have a Delta Airbus A321. This is the regular A321. This aircraft has arrived from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and will be making a later departure out to Montego Bay in Jamaica. And then next up, here we have the Delta Airbus A320. This is another Delta A320 that we have. This aircraft has arrived in from Nashville, Tennessee, and will be making a later departure out to St. Martin. And last but not least for Terminal C, here we have the Delta Boeing 737-900ER. This aircraft has arrived in earlier from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, and will be making a later departure out to Georgetown. And moving on over to the taxiway real quick over here on the north side of the airport, here we have the Korean Air Boeing 777-300ER. This aircraft has just arrived in from Seoul in South Korea, and will be making a later departure back out to Seoul in South Korea. Now moving on to the cargo stand, starting us off here with the DHL Cargo operated by Southern Air. This aircraft has arrived in from Sofia in Germany, and will be making a later departure out to Anchorage in Alaska. And then right next to him, here we have the FedEx Boeing 767-300F. This aircraft has arrived in from East Midlands in the United Kingdom, and will be making a later departure tonight out to Memphis, Tennessee. And right next to him, here we have the Magma Boeing 747-400 BCF. This aircraft has arrived in from Liège, Belgium, and will be making a later departure out to Cologne, Germany. And right here we have the UPS Boeing 767-300F. This aircraft has arrived in from Louisville, Kentucky, and will be making a later departure out to Ontario in California. And then right here we have a FedEx feeder, Cessna 208 Caravan. This aircraft is getting ready for its flight out to Albany in New York. Alright guys, now moving on to Terminal B, starting us off here at the JetBlue terminal. Here we have the JetBlue Airbus A320 in the Peacock livery. This aircraft has arrived in earlier from Bozeman, Montana, and will be making a later departure out to Denver, Colorado. And also, quick disclaimer, if you hear anything in the background, that's my sister playing Fortnite. And her coughing.
Right next to that one, we have the JetBlue Airbus A320 and the Mosaic Tail. This aircraft came in from Boston and will be making a later flight out to Nashville, Tennessee.
And right here we have a brand new model for you guys. This is the JetBlue Airbus A320 in the brand new Spotlight livery. This aircraft has arrived in earlier from Fort Lauderdale in Florida and will be making a later departure out to Cancun, Mexico.
Here we have a JetBlue Airbus A321neo in the balloon's tail. This aircraft is going to be doing its inaugural flight out to Peru, Lima, Peru.
Alright, moving on to the United part of the Terminal B. Starting us off here, we have the Lufthansa Airbus A330-300. This aircraft is getting its fuel on board as it's about to get ready for its flight out to Frankfurt, Germany.
Here we have our United 787-9 in the slightly older color scheme. I believe. I can't tell from here. But, oh yeah, that is a slightly older color scheme. My bad. This aircraft is doing it overnight for a inaugural flight out to Lagos, Nigeria.
Right next to him, here we have the United 77-10, which is another new model for you guys. This aircraft is in a new livery, as you can tell. But this aircraft arrived in early from Dublin, Ireland, and it will be making a late departure out to Paris Charles de Gaulle.
Here we have an Airpuff 777-200ER. This aircraft is going to be making a lovely flight out to Nobu in the Atlantic Islands.
Right here we have the United Boeing 757-200 in the new livery. This aircraft arrived in earlier from Stockholm in Sweden and will be making a later departure out to Porto in Portugal.
Right here we have the United Airbus A321neo in a new livery. This aircraft arrived in from Denver, Colorado and will be making a later flight out to Houston, Texas. Here we have a United 737 MAX 8. This aircraft arrived in from Nook, Greenland and will be making a later departure, out to Medina, Portugal.
Right next to that MAX 8, here we have another United aircraft, and it's a 737, but it's the MAX 10 this time. This aircraft has arrived in from Sacramento, California, and will be making a later departure out to Seattle, Washington.
Here we have the Air Canada Rouge Airbus A321. This aircraft will be making a lovely flight out to Calgary, Alberta.
Right here we have the Copa Airlines Boeing 737-800 in the regular livery. This aircraft is arrived in from Panama City, Panama.
Right here we have the United 737-900 in a new livery. This aircraft arrived in from San Antonio, Texas, and will be making a later flight out to Albuquerque,
New Mexico. Right here we have the United Airbus A320 in the old Continental livery here. This aircraft has arrived in from Madison, Wisconsin, and will be making a later departure out to Vancouver in British Columbia.
Here we have a United 737-9 MAX. This aircraft is getting fueled up for its flight out to Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Moving on to the Terminal B H gates over here, we have this EBT Airlines Airbus A321. This aircraft is getting its catering on for its flight out to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Here we have an Air Canada Express ERJ-175S operated by Jazz Aviation. You like Jazz? This aircraft is going to be heading out to Montreal in Quebec.
Right next to him, here we have the United Express Embraer E175L. This aircraft is operating on behalf of Republic Airlines and will be making a flight out to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Here we have a United Express CRJ-550 operated by GoJet. This aircraft is going to be making a lovely flight out to Nantucket, Massachusetts.
Right next to that aircraft, here we have the Breeze Airbus A220, which is another new model for you guys, along with the CRJ-550, which my brother forgot to mention. This aircraft has arrived in from Charleston, South Carolina, and will be making a later departure out to Madison, Wisconsin.
Here we have my disappointment, a Flair 737-800. This aircraft will be making a flight out to Winnipeg.
Moving on to the taxiways now for the last bit of this airport update. Here we have the Delta 757-300. This aircraft has arrived in from San Diego, California.
Here we have a Delta Airbus A319. This here little birdo came in from Key West, Florida.
Right here we have the JetBlue Airbus A321 in the balloon's tail. This aircraft is taxiing towards runway 13 right for its departure out to Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Here we have the Lufthansa cargo MD-11F. This aircraft will be making a flight out to Frankfurt, Germany.
And right here we have the United Boeing 737 MAX 9. in the new livery. This aircraft is taxiing towards the gate after its arrival from San Diego, California, and making a later departure out to Chicago O'Hare.
Here we have the United 737-700 with the split scamitars. This aircraft is arriving in from Eagle County Airport in Colorado.
Right here we have the United Boeing 767-400ER in the new livery. This aircraft is taxiing towards runway 13 right for its flight out to Zurich, Switzerland.
Here we have the UPS World Services. This aircraft is going to 747-8F. This aircraft is going to be making a flight out to the weirdest airport I've ever heard of, Sofia, Germany.
Right here, also taxiing towards runway 13 right, here we have the United Express Embraer E170 SE. This aircraft is going to be making its flight out to Hilton Head Island.
Here we have the United 737-800 in the Star Alliance livery. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Santa Ana, California.
Right here we have the Spirit Airbus A320 in this Skittles livery. This aircraft is going to be making a flight out to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Here we have the United 757-200 in the beautiful Right Here, California livery. This aircraft will be making the loveliest of flights out to Los Angeles, California.
Right here we have the United Express Bombardier CRJ550. This aircraft had arrived in earlier from Richmond, Virginia, and was now making its flight out to Portland, Maine.
And last but not least, here we have the United Express CRJ550, operated by the Gold Jet.
And also, this is a new model, by the way, the second new model for the CRJ550.
This aircraft will be making its speedy departure out to Memphis.
Alright guys, so that's going to be concluding today's airport update of Eastern Liberty International. I hope you guys enjoyed. So the current construction on the runway is probably going to take another month or so to get it completed, because I just wanted to redo it, make sure it looks nice and neat. So it might take a month and a half maybe. So a few airport updates are going to be where it's just a single runway operation. But yeah, also don't forget to check out Texan Airplane Store. Don't forget to use code AVI24, that's code AVI24, to get 50% off any orders on their shop. So yeah, do check them out. And yeah, I don't know what my brother has to say. You have anything to say?
Also, if you guys are wondering where we've been for the past few
months, I think.
Yeah, so unfortunately he had an injury, that's why maintenance on the airport or airport updates have been tipped a little bit.
Yeah, that's why there was a skip from the Brighton airport update video until now, because this video was supposed to be up and ready to go for this week, and then there was supposed to be another video after that. But due to my injury, which I'm recovering very well, if you guys are wondering, yeah, so this airport update is probably going to be pushed back. It's going to be out hopefully whenever it gets out soonest. I'll try to work on it as much as I can. And yeah, I think that pretty much gets you guys up to date of what's been going on. Been getting the uploads, doing our best to get our uploads back up on schedule. And also thank you for the amount of support too on the Brighton airport update, the first one. I've never expected it to get that many views. I was expecting at least to be 100, but it's already, from the time when I looked at it, it's almost at 1,000 views, which is absolutely insane.
Yo, thank you, chat.
And we also gained I think 15 plus subscribers from it. So thank you to everybody that subscribed. Welcome to the channel. We're both two crazy brothers that love aviation. So yeah. Yeah, exactly what that guy said. But yeah, try to work on some different project videos for you guys. Also try to figure out how to put up some YouTube shorts or something like that. So I don't know, I guess reach out to more the people in the community. Yeah. As with that being said, that does conclude for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.